idea. Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Auburn Redevelopment Commission to order. We'll start with roll call, please.
Denny Ketzenberger.
Here.
Shelley Schmaltz.
Here.
Pete Kitt.
Here.
Dan Braun.
Here.
Valerie Armstrong. Here. Eric Bauer.
Here.
And a recognition of visitors, we have Mayor Dave Clark, Clerk Treasurer Lori Pontius, Mayor's Executive Assistant Brandy Coburn, Business Development Andy Brand, City Attorney Zach Leitner, City Engineer Daryl McConnell. We have Fire Chief Doug Cox, Todd Ramsey, Jim Catterett, Ann Fincham, Ryan Shambaugh, and Councilwoman Natalie DeWitt. Can you see anybody? And the regular meeting minutes from February 4th are in front of you.
Second.
With a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And then claims before you include invoice from Baker Tilly for Auburn Crossings IFA application and work done regarding that. Invoice number BTMA 3129. I'm sorry, 31239. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
A motion. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Is this project going nowhere? Is that, I mean, have we heard back from that application?
They did not receive the IFA funding.
Okay.
But the project is still possibly going somewhere, and they're working with the mayor and trying to figure out how we can still incentivize multifamily development in Auburn. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, and there's an invoice from Leitner Law Firm for February Auburn Redevelopment Commission items, invoice number 1365. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve invoice 1365 for $250 for Leitner Law Firm.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye.
Under unfinished business, Daryl, do you want to address the commission?
Yes.
Thank you.
Couple of quick updates for the State Road 8 sidewalk improvements project. Those bids were due February 18th. We received one bid for that project. We had two interested contractors. We received one bid. One bid was from MF Projects LLC. They've done previous projects for us. The bid that was turned in was $1,167,065. The engineer's estimate was $1,146,506. So it came in about $20,000 over engineer's estimate. JPR, the design consultant, has evaluated the bid. Everything looks good, and they have provided a letter of recommendation for that award. We are currently still working with NDOT to get our right-of-way permit to do construction in the right-of-way. So we're still intending to award that project, but just kind of holding off for the time being. But keep that project going, but we're still working on that right-of-way permit. Quick update on the Auburn Fire Department training facility. The contractor Crosby has moved in yesterday and they started moving dirt. So that project is just getting underway.
Great. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Thank you for that update. All right, we'll move on to new business. Auburn Main Street and the committee provided us with a copy of an application for a facade grant, which is phase 2 of Stuart and Abby Hood's property. Ann, would you like to give everybody a rundown of what this is? Thank you.
Stuart and Abby Hood just completed phase 1 of their project, and we're following up with the next step, which was to complete the improvements to the exterior of that building, which would include fixing and replacing the stucco, the chimney, and adding signage to the building and painting that exterior. They've included the colors and estimates of what that signage would look like. Some of the pictures that were included show what the side building, which is attached to that, what the building colors will look like. So if you've driven by 8th Street, you'll kind of get a visual of what the colors are that they're planning to use on the building, along with what Carlo White's estimates of what the signage will look like for the building that they're planning to use on that. The project itself, the estimates are $23,861. They're looking for grant funding of $11,930.93. We recommend approval for the project.
Does this meet the guidelines of the facade grant that is it within a calendar year they can receive up to $15,000 match? Or is it
We
within
remove
12
that
months?
requirement so they can come right back and ask for funding. If we feel like anyone's abusing that, we'll take a look at it. But we feel this will be their last request as long as they finish that project. So this will be their final.
Thank you. Anything to add, Pete?
No.
I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the application for the facade grant for Hood Phase 2.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you for your time.
Motion passed. Thank you, Ann. Next thing on the agenda is a discussion of possible projects for 2026 and 2027. We did a spending plan for 2025 as required by the state of Indiana, and decided that it made sense with these big projects coming in to Auburn, particularly State Road 8 being redeveloped, and other projects, that we make a plan for the future. And keep things in mind, knowing that these expenses are going to come down the road. So this is just for discussion at this point. If anybody wants to talk about it, we are committed to another, I think, 2 years for $100,000 each year for the facade grant, which we made that decision before. This is different from a budget. This is just for us to talk about. It's not written in stone, but it's things for us to be aware of that are coming down the pike. So, Mayor, do you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, so obviously next year we have a state road aid median project. 2027, there's the South Union to Ninth Cedar Street project. We've met with some engineers. Looks like that project will be done in 2 phases over 27 and 28 due to the size of it, so that we can be done in time for the festival and fair. That total project for water and sewer was about 2 million total, and then we're going to complete the streets for another 2.
Yeah, obviously you do the pipe job and then it's followed up by a street reconstruction. You're probably talking another million.
Again, looking at doing that in 2 phases. Initial phase is 27, which would be South Union 9 Cedar down to 10th. Because there's no sewer in that first phase. The sewer will only be in phase 2 going from, or excuse me, not 10th, 15th. So there's just sewer from 10th to 15th, and the remaining 15th Street to Hensley would be a full recount the following year is the goal. So we'd like to ask the Redevelopment Commission for assistance with that project in a couple of years if possible. And we also have the Smith Drive extension, the sidewalk program in 27, 28, just off the top of my head. Possible Phillips Street extension, which I think hopefully most of you are aware of. If not, I'd be happy to share some of that with you. So try to be proactive.
For the Smith Drive, we've brought that area into the area economic development area. We did not create a TIF. Is there anything that we are anticipating? Do we need to move on a TIF for that in the near future?
There's no development slated for
Okay.
that north side of State Road 8, which is going
Good to know.
I guess my initial thoughts, just real quickly on that, I mean, if that's something that we want to do, I would suggest we go ahead and proceed this year. The way those lots are all plotted, they're ready to go. Someone could come in and buy a lot and start a building tomorrow, in theory. So I just feel like that's something we want to try to look at. Maybe even at this calendar year,
Expanding the TIF
expanding
district
that
to
TIF
include
to
Smith.
include those newly declared parcels.
As you recall, we took the first step in that, and we added that area to the economic development area, or area in need of economic development. We recognize that it is, those lots have been for sale for a long time, and there might need to be some sort of infrastructure or incentive, or the ability to put it in a TIF district might entice developers, if they're in a TIF district, to develop there.
Upon completion, Shelley, if I can add, whenever that project is completed, 27 or 28, that provides walkability from Hunter's Glen all the way to Walmart.
Very important.
Shelley,
Yes, sir.
just to circle back on the State Road 8 median project, which is happening next year. Right now, NDOT's currently putting together the contract between the city and the state, or NDOT on that. We expect to get that in the next month or so. And I think part of that contract is going to be a letter of commitment from the city, verifying that we have the funds to enter into this contract. So I just want to bring that to your attention. I'm sure we can bring that to this board, once we have that in hand, and we'll have time to review it.
Are we still going to be 1.5 million ballpark?
I think it might be a little higher than that after some preliminary estimates. I think we're in the, maybe the 1.8 when you consider the water main and the median beautification and the lighting. So that's still being fine tuned, but we might be a little higher than that. But there might be some other funds that we can tap in because, I know we've been talking about that at around the 1.5 for a while, but it's still being fine tuned.
And as a reminder, the purpose of TIF is to finance incentives. This is according to the guideline for redevelopment commissions. Finance incentives or infrastructure needed to induce private investment, to encourage orderly economic growth in targeted areas, to redevelop blighted areas. So those are the things that we're looking for as a redevelopment commission, or how do we incentivize orderly, specific growth that we want in our community. And all of those things that we choose to invest in should be part of our city plan, our plan for the future, which is our 2040 plan, or the downtown improvement plan, or the housing study that was conducted. So we can always fall back on those plans because so much time and effort went into creating them. And that is a good resource for us to know what the community wants. Any other thoughts on 26, 27 possible projects? All right, well, let's just keep the conversation going. I'm glad we had this time to talk about it in the meeting. So our next meeting is April Fool's Day. No joke. Any other business to discuss before we adjourn? Yes, sir.
The only other thing is just a heads up that our May meeting will have a presentation from Baker Tilly.
Thank you. We're required to have an annual meeting, and Baker Tilly comes and does that. So make sure to mark your calendar for the May meeting appointment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.